Well, good morning. Welcome to the War Room Roundtable. I'm Eric Swanson here with Victoria Dean, with Steve Schaff, with Gabrielle Zenner, and with Dean Cambray. So it's a good opportunity for us to check in and see what everybody's been doing. Gabrielle, what have you been up to?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're just coming to the end of Q1, so it's an exciting time because, like, if we're thinking about those strategic business plans we did in Q4, like, we're going to be able to do, like, our first accountability here in the next few weeks, which is really exciting, and having those conversations about where people at with their objectives for Q1 and kind of looking towards, like, what's going on for the remaining year adjustments. So, yeah, that's kind of what's been happening in the GAB strategic planning world.
All right, good job. All right, Dean, what about you? What's going on with you? What have you been up to?
I've been working like a farm animal.
Oh, farming.
What type?
Nothing flashed. Just an old bullet plowing the top field.
A donkey.
No, I've been good. It's been great. I've been doing a lot of. I'm doing 2 documentaries. I'm doing the stuff for Edible Portland. Just got tons of stuff on at the minute. It's been really great.
So Q1's been busy?
Right out of the gate. I was right out, like, even between Christmas and New Year's, it was just amazing. And it's just, I mean, I've been in America a while now, so like I kind of lost a lot of clients coming here, so I restarted again. So, you know, it wasn't a surprise, but we planned for it, so we were working hard to get more work. So, and I think one of the good things about restarting is you kind of think about your business, what you're offering, how you're offering your prices, new technology, how you can change things. So it's you know, using Edible Portland as an example, I do films for them, documentaries, podcasts, recipe styling. I publish a magazine with them. Just adverts. It's just kind of huge.
That's exciting. Huge. That's good. So it sounds like you've been busy. Victoria, what about you? What have you been up to?
Oh, Eric. It's been a crazy Q1, as it always is. Tax season, right, for bookkeepers is very heavy-handed. So if you're one of those amazing, great clients that meet with me every month and have all their books in order and everything, it's really easy. But for those who don't, it can be a struggle. So you see this time of the year, too, a lot of people that have never had a bookkeeper or just started their business and they need a CPA, so there's a lot of annual cleanup, right? A lot of prior year cleanup to make sure things are ready for their CPAs and things are coded well, as well as, you know, working with, like Gabrielle says, making sure that those budgets and stuff have come to fruition now that we're getting close to the end of Q1, and starting into Q2, right? How are they actually looking for where they thought versus where they are? So, you know, it's a lot of work, but it's been a great start out of the gate this year. So busy, but good.
So 3 for 3, with a lot of activity going on in this new economy year, this new fiscal year. So things seem to be busy. Stephen, what's going on with you in IT managed services?
Well, I finished my Lego Star Destroyer.
Yes!
How long did
I
it take
saw
you?
it.
About 15 hours.
Oh, my word.
No kidding?
15 hours.
Yeah, about 15 hours.
It's a big one.
It's big. It's a big, it's, you know, a
I
good
want to know how much
size.
it cost.
Yeah. I got it as a birthday present. So.
I thought it was free.
A typical human being would take about 3 months to do that. It took Steve 15 hours.
About 15 hours.
Stephen, that's incredible. Well, that says to your ability to be patient through differut tasks, to say the least.
But
Tedious
complex tasks.
work.
Yes.
It was good. So I picked up a client, and we're uplifting their cybersecurity. So what that means is where, you know, basically they were doing the bare minimum minus, and now we're really pushing them into the 21st, 22nd century and making sure that they are covered and, you know, doing the things that they're supposed to be doing originally, but, you know, didn't. And so it's a lot of time, money, and effort, and a lot of pain. And they're going to be dragged into the 21st century if they like it or not.
That's right. Kicking and screaming to success.
That's
I
right.
love it.
And we've been talking recently that you're going to be, you know, kind of ramping up your business development, marketing, you know, positions in, you know, in the region, and so that's going to create hopefully some fruits off that labor to kind of get a test market to see where the economy is, you know, locally, I would imagine. So I'm excited to hear that. That's just one of many arrows in the quiver from business development. And for me, so that's 4 for 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 5 from the economy. A lot of what I've been hearing from folks has been that kind of nationally, some of my friends that are in the Rust Belt, kind of in the Pennsylvania and Northeast area, Ohio, that with the tariffs that have come down recently and kind of the recalibrating of the economy, that things have slowed. Business people are nervous, apprehensive about making decisions because of the fluctuations of the tariffs, and so it has created unpredictability in an otherwise predictable environment. Our economy right now, according to the Fed chair yesterday, spoke to Wall Street that we're at 2% growth as a nation right now, and we are at 4% unemployment. That's a solid economy. That's a strong economy. But like politics, economies are local as well. So locally, I remember the conversation you had recently about winemakers, vintners, and that just prices are just really down and that they're struggling right now. And so for me, what I'm seeing activity-wise with all of the chaos and the uncertainty, my role doing payroll and HR and workers' comp and benefits, it's to create certainty. It's to create predictability. So where there is weakness or there's maybe a pause, it causes employers to retrench and start to reevaluate their cost centers. And that creates opportunity for me in an up or down economy. So I'm always doing well to an extent because companies need to continue to survive and meet payroll and look for better costs and better strategies. So I've been quite busy over the past quarter, making a lot of contacts. So companies are continuing to talk to me because if they don't and they're shutting down, that means that they're not paying attention to HR regulations. They're not paying attention to new things that are happening
until the oh shit moment happened.
Yes, in Salem, where our state capital is, where there's a new law or there's a new, paid leave Oregon, and you've got to carve out some money for that with your business. So the first quarter has been interesting, and so I'm looking forward to the springtime. Grass is growing, the lawnmowers and the landscape architects are out there getting it happen. I think
everyone in the Pacific Northwest is looking forward to springtime.
Things are happening, so I'm really excited for April 1, so which would be Q2.
I think that goes perfectly kind of into the past few interviews that we've had, right, with other type of employers, right, looking at places like Urban Crêpière that have the same kind of models, right? So strategic planning is so important. Why is it so important? And at what point are we out there, right, looking for the best good for us to make sure that we're surviving as a business, because it is a volatile market right now. And we have to be very careful. And depending on the type of business we have, it can be much more strenuous, right? Where, yes, we are in a financial needs sector, right? In a social media sector, in a security sector. These are easy, everyday needs, but we're talking about how restaurants survive, how automotive places stick up. Those are completely different thought processes, right? And they're struggling a lot with that, right? People are scared to go out. People don't want to spend as much. People don't want to do as much. And so how do you combat that every day? And I think that looking back at like Ilya with Urban Crêpière, it was just one thing he couldn't combat, right? He couldn't combat the payroll. He couldn't combat the area. It was too much for it. And the budget and the strategic plan just didn't go in line with the model that he had. It just didn't.
Yeah.
I worked with a local donut business owner, a donut shop. And as I'm sitting down talking with him, he takes a phone call from his coffee provider. He's got an employee that comes up that had a question about something. His wife is bringing beverages that they purchased from Costco to put into the stores, and then his other chef comes over and is talking to him, and I'm helping him with get his payroll set up, and it's all right here. All of that's happening just at once, and as I'm listening to Victoria, my services that I provide, we want to provide that employer then a dashboard, an easy to use dashboard where they have everything. Steve does the same thing in IT managed services. Gabrielle does the same thing with her business when she's talking about her customers and what they're doing and their risk assessments and all of things like that. And Dean doing the production and the setup from all behind, and Victoria with her bookkeeping. We're all providing a resource to these small businesses to help them. My point is that sometimes they're afraid to really look at themselves and get organized for fear of they're going to get exposed. And so sometimes they end up not wanting to take these ideas and help them get organized because they realize deep down they're not organized and they don't want
payroll's a great example.
expose that.
Payroll's a really good, easy example, right? Like if we take Urban Crêpière and we just go back to that for a second and look at it, right? He was not able to retain employees for the wages that he wanted or the time that he wanted. He just didn't have it in his budget, so he was the one being the cook in the kitchen and handling it and the server and everything. And the old saying rings true, right? Is that a business owner who is a chef all day never runs a business, right? And that's what happened, right? Is that you have to be able to have really good business partners that really have your best interest in mind, especially as a small business. Somebody like your services that go in there and say, let me take that payroll off of your hands so that you can be a business owner. Yes, how do we do that sometimes as business owners? Is that really hard? I mean, we all do that, right? I need to hire somebody, I need more hours so that I can get more hours, but I don't have enough hours. And you just have to take that plunge sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You have to take that risk sometimes. And that's why you see like the donut shop being so successful is because he's willing to invest his money into his employees so that they're running the shop for him so that he can continue to grow and have more donut shops.
That's right.
Yeah. And you spoke on location. Portland's hard. Portland's difficult. Location.
Especially downtown. Right now, after COVID, very difficult.
You have a lot of factors going on in Portland. A lot of businesses closing up shop. You have a lot of homeless issues.
We have no money being pumped back into the city for rejuvenation, right? Let's just talk about just downtown Portland. Yes, it's systemic throughout the rest of the Oregon areas, but being one of the bigger cities in Oregon, right, it's really easy to kind of pinpoint that and see that. When COVID happened and these places shut down, what happened? Nothing got pumped back into it. They boarded up, they closed it, and they never reopened all these shops, which in turn, right, led to more crime, more homelessness, less traffic. I mean, my aunt used to go to Portland like every year. She loves Portland. She thinks Portland's like one of the coolest places. I don't know why. I think Portland's like the coolest place ever, but she loves it. And she came down right a year and a half ago and she was like, holy Victoria, she's like, it's like a ghost town. It's like scary down there. You know what I mean? And this is somebody who goes all the time and loves it and literally now is like almost scared to go back. When they finally do put this money into the city, what are you going to get? Right? Are you going to be like Vegas where you've pushed out all of the regular people and you've literally just put up $1 million high rises and now, right, there is nothing but these touristy, but then the cost of living just becomes so enormously high that now you're duplicating your homeless rate. You're talking about systemic issues, right? And how do you combat that in a town? Putting up a creperie probably wasn't the best idea in downtown Portland.
And that big, beautiful space.
That place was so gorgeous.
It's a beautiful space.
He nailed it on beauty.
Oh, yeah. And food, beauty. I mean, he had everything.
And on a MAX line, a public transportation rail spur right there.
If you had looked at it from a vision standpoint, it works. Right? Like we talk about all the time, the vision works, right? It's a beautiful, I put all the money, I have a beautiful place.
A couple blocks down from the soccer stadium.
Beautiful food, I have a great location, but there's no strategic planning that's going into it. So there's no, what really is the market, right? What really is the turnaround? What really is the cost? What really is the demographic? All of those things need to come into consideration, especially if you have a brick and mortar. If you have a brick and mortar, it's the first thing, and it has to be analyzed every 6 months. Hotels do it every month. They send their salespeople out every month to other hotels to read their leaderboards, to see how clean they are, to see what's going on. How can they get a competitive edge against that person? And they only do that by knowing their competitors. And none of that was done. And hence, right, why it was not successful. Not because it didn't have a great product, not because it wasn't in a good location, not because it just was in the wrong location, wrong product, wrong time.
And wrong margin.
100%.
And to compound all this, the city of Portland has been one of the only cities in the United States that had a less powerful mayoral seat, and the city council really ran the city government. And it wasn't until this year, I believe, January 1, that it has now been changed. And the mayor they've changed the way the government has run the city of Portland. So now it's a strong mayor with elected city council people who are now no longer responsible for running city bureaus like the parks, the water, the power, and all of those different police and fire. They actually have professional city managers that have college degrees in the public
But sadly,
sector.
it's also up to the business owner in this day and age. You cannot rely, right, on your government, your police to take care of your corners in this day and age, especially in some of these locations in Portland. It's up to the business owners to come together and make a very strong united front on those blocks, and that's what happens, right? That's why you have boroughs and neighborhoods that have a lot of crime and some that don't, because their citizens, the people that live there, won't tolerate it. You know what I mean? So but how do you do that? How do you form a good community? How do you form good trust within your neighbors? How do you do that as a business owner to really make sure that you guys are protecting each other, right? Because that is just, at the end of the day, like one of the things that's going to save you there. It just is, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I'm positive about the city of Portland. We all want our city to do well. It's a crown jewel. However, it's reality. The buildings are losing their value. The offices are not packed anymore, and the Ritz-Carlton is in receivership right now. That's the brand new $1 billion hotel.
They just built it.
It's in receivership right now.
Oh, man.
And the owner has lost. BPM management has sold all of their properties to try to keep that thing afloat. So there has not been a really good economic development downtown.
But you're also seeing then small boutique hotels down there that have been there forever that are thriving and doing just as good as ever. What are they doing different, right? Besides their name. Right, and the fact that you can take what are they doing different to stay in that competitive edge to bring people in even when people aren't going to other places around there. There's something they're doing differently, and if you're tapping into that, you're going to be more successful.
But at the Ritz-Carlton, they have this little food cart area,
and which is being run separately outside of that receivership. So that will continue, and that is a crown jewel.
It's really, my wife and I went a couple weeks ago, and it was this, it's like a little food cart area. You have seating. There's
on the ground floor, or in the basement.
It kind of goes down. There's a bar area if you want alcohol, and there's a bunch of little shops that you can get like. Thai or Chinese or,
it got like a 4 or 5 star rating just recently.
It's really great.
Place. Yeah.
It's really great. Now,
if Urban Crêpière could have survived for that transition, that would have been so cool.
Great for them.
Mm-hmm. So
but again, if you're not checking your demographic, if you're not looking into if that is even a marketable thing, right? Especially with food is all about demographic.
Right.
Yeah.
I have to say, if you had 5 food carts lined up in a row, one of them was an Urban Crêpière, and there was 100 people buying dinner. How many people do you think would be at the Urban Crêpière food cart?
Might be one.
One, okay. I reckon it was completely wrong food. Completely wrong. To open a crêperie in Portland is completely wrong.
I think that, again, right, that's that demographic. You have to know, are you going to be able to sell this type of food? Will it happen? It's like going to Texas and trying to sell them something that you make, like, it's not going to happen. And they are like dead set, like, give them North Carolina barbecue, see what happens to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you'd only have to go out and eat in Portland, and, with Edible Portland, I'm out a lot. In a lot of different places.
And we're a foodie town. We are. We are a foodie town.
We're a foodie town, and there's some great food. And these places aren't cheap.
No.
You can go in. I won't name names, but there's a great brewery. It's you get sensational food, and if we was all there eating and drinking, it would cost us a bit. It's not dirt cheap, but it's packed. Honestly, if you're not there at 5, by 7 you need tire levers and olive oil to get people in the joint. It's so. I think. What are you selling?
It's the first thing, right? It's the very first thing you talk about. Time. It's to Eric's point, like we were talking about before. Yes, you could have that. It's not on the market, right? And it's a need, and so it will sell well. But that's more of a product, right? Like or like a service, not like a food. Like if we think of like pool sales. I can always go back to that because it's like a huge money. If you do pool cleaning sales, it doesn't seem like it's a really good market in the Pacific Northwest, but it's a great market in the Pacific Northwest. You would not realize how many people actually have pools and hot tubs and spas in the Pacific Northwest. It's a huge market. You can make a ton of money doing it. You know what I mean? You would never think that. Right? Never ever think that. Now you do that in California in the desert where I grew up, and you'll be making like $18 an hour if you're lucky because there are a dime a dozen on every corner, right?
I've often thought about owning a car wash in the Northwest, and my father is in Portland. My father says it's never going to
They're packed all the time.
Never going to work.
Yeah.
All the time.
So it's always raining.
That's why they're packed, because cars get dirty and they get mad and they clean them.
Yeah.
It works, and you wouldn't think it would work, but it does work, right? So that's a niche market that needs people. It needs that. Food doesn't need that. People that are in their demographics love their food. They have a certain type. They have something that they're looking for, and that's what they want, right? And unfortunately, to that note, yes, we are a great foodie place, but because of that, we are foodie.
And we're specific.
Yes.
I think it's old-fashioned. I just can't see how you going into a business like that. I'm going to pay my rent. I'm going to pay my staff. I'm going to pay all this from crepes.
Right.
And you have to do that too with restaurants. Yeah.
I mean, what was his rent? I don't know what his rent. What do you think his rent was?
Oh,
At
it
least
had to be a
10.
ton.
At least.
It's got to be over 10 grand because the first place that we interviewed at where that location is almost $9,000 a month. So his location has to be closer to 15.
Yeah.
That's a lot of crepe, as they say.
That's a lot of crepes.
That's a lot of crepe.
And then what's just the break-even point? 1,000 of them,
And that's what you're looking at. And that was probably never done. What is that break even after you put in your food costs, after you put in your rent, after you put in your payroll, after you put in all your brick and mortar costs? What is your break even? Because that's your true break even, not just the cost of the crate versus what it sells.
Totally.
Right.
Totally. And I say that not like sitting here, obviously after the fact he's closed, being, well, this is all wrong. I've had my own restaurants and I've made mistakes of going in, and I come to it with, 20 years in France and London as a chef. So I walked in and I put the key and I knew food backwards, but I bought the wrong restaurant at the wrong time in the wrong location, and didn't do my due diligence. So, and I see it all the time now it turned out well for us. Luckily, the food was strong and what we were offering was still enough to get us through. But I think even.
But what it could have been if you would have put it in the right location at the right time, it could have maybe even been better.
Well, the thing was, the whole trend had changed. The whole trend of dining out in Melbourne had changed. Now it would do really well. Mm-hmm. I mean, people, I've worked with people who are customers now, and so in that sense it was good, and the reputation we got has helped me in my photography, but it's not an easy thing opening a restaurant, even if you know a lot about a certain part of it. So.
It is the hardest job to open, and you do it because you love it. I've never met a successful business owner that didn't do it because he loved it. He never has done it for the money. If you do it for the money, you will fail 100% of the time.
Yeah.
The sense that I had regarding the creperie was that, the owner Ilya being an Eastern European, St. Petersburg is considered Europe, an Eastern European, and crepes are European for the most part. I'm sure they even done in South America too, kidding aside. But his location was like 4 blocks down from the largest university in Oregon, Portland State University, which is an international school. And what bothers me about the end of the creperie is that when we interviewed Ilya and we spoke with them, what disappointed me was that it didn't seem as though the business development, the outreach to the hotels and the other hospitality partners potentially wasn't really done until it was too late.
Right.
That's the vibe that I got. And so I wished that, when he would...
Reaction, not proaction.
Correct.
Right.
And I think if, COVID and the COVID and the problems with inner city Portland and the riots and whatnot, and between the championship winning soccer team that we have, male and female, that we have, we're soccer town, and then the International University just a few blocks away on a bus on a metro line. I'm just for public transportation. I'm just surprised there wasn't more outreach to getting. It could have been the hangout for some of the international folks who maybe are,
I
don't know, but I mean, he
a
could have
brick and mortar
efforted
of
more.
that size just didn't. It was never going to hit ROI.
Right. Like a
And-
bar, like with high alcohol margin.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to kind
And
of
so
get
you
to.
have
Is
to-
it
you
could have
have
been
to
kind
know
of
it.
more of a better place, and I think that's what you're saying, a better place to hang out. What could he have done differently to offer?
Crepes could have been
to
half the menu.
Right.
because he had the coffee shop up front, but I mean, what could that else have been? Live music.
Oh, it's beautiful.
We talked about that. The space, do a little live music there or something, and so it was just too little, too late.
But you
know?
have. That's why a good strategic plan is so important. That's why having good people in your corner is so important, right?
He knew this.
The things that we talk about all the time.
He knew that.
But people do it all the time. I have a vision, and I'm gonna start a business, and I'm gonna be successful, and that's why within 3 years they close because one or they just stay
And he worked
stagnant
hard.
the same.
I mean, in his mind, he worked hard.
He did work hard. The place
He
was
worked hard.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not about the amount of sweat equity that you put into it. It's did you do the right research prior to doing it? Are you following your budget and your plan and your strategic plan? Are you following right all of your everything that goes into your board that you're doing? You're putting together all of your stuff to say this is who we are, this is our motto, this is what we stand for, this is our vision, this is how we get there, this is what we do it. Like you have to have a walk. You can't just say I have a really good vision and I want to do it. You can.
Yeah.
You could also be like my dad and own a business and make millions and then have nothing when you retire. Like, you know what I mean? Because you blew it all and you never had a plan.
Yeah, and I think it really goes to show that like a lot of times people have that vision. They go into business, they're super passionate, super excited, and really good at what it is that they do, but then they don't have a team around them of like the additional heads of decision makers to like really bounce ideas off of or like really like go chat through maybe some of these potential risks.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or even what is just your presence, right? Like, what is your presence? If you're going to be a handyman, how are you marketing? You see it all the time, right? These guys want to be a general contractor. They have this really great vision. They're great general contractors. They have a great team. They have good pricing, right? They get all the stuff, and then they fail because why? Well, they spent $50,000 in marketing on Angie's List, right? Because they knew that was going to get them all the business, and then they got no business,
Right.
right? And so why did that not work? Well, there's many reasons that didn't work. And because you had a plan, but you didn't have an actual vehicle to get you from point A to point B. And good professionals do that. That's why we need them in our corner. Because as business owners, we wear all the hats.
Right.
Right? And there's lots of things that we're not all good at. Like Steve says all the time, I hate social media. I'm not really good at social media. I hate it. Okay?
And bookkeeping. I don't like bookkeeping.
It's true. You don't like bookkeeping either.
Payroll.
I don't like payroll either.
But the center, the easier and the faster you can get that off your plate. Payroll, let's just take that into example, right? What are you paying? $70 a month
Yeah.
to have somebody process your payroll for you so that you don't have to screw it all up? What happens if you get it wrong? Do you know how expensive it is?
100.
Really expensive.
Yep. Every time you screwed up the form, it's $100. Every time. Every time you screw up that
Or every
state
time,
form,
what
it's
if you didn't
$100.
file your taxes, your payroll taxes right?
Oh, you're really screwed then.
What can happen to your business? What can happen to you as a liability person?
It's
All the things.
It's a slippery slope, and you
Yes.
kind of can't get out from under the
And the
paperwork.
bigger problem is how do you correct it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Once a mistake is made, how do you fix it? If you didn't even know what mistake you made, how do you even know how to correct it?
And how many years can it go by with you don't know?
I can tell you horror stories about it. I will just pay the $70 a month, and somebody that's a professional is going to handle that for me and make sure that it's done proper and that it's done correctly and that they're going to keep me compliant and where I need to be. Right?
Yeah.
That's the best thing for me. Could I do it myself? Yes. I could totally do it myself, and it would cost me a lot less. I'm a bookkeeper. QuickBooks payroll for me is free.
So compliance.
Would never use it.
Compliance. We have a colleague that would always query me, like, Eric, you talk about compliance. What does compliance mean? Compliance. I have an employer that has multiple stores, hundreds of employees, and his payroll provider, it's a national provider, failed to reserve and carve out a specific tax bucket, just like for Social Security and Medicare, for Oregon, for paid leave Oregon. And it's, I'm going to say like 5 cents per hour. Well, I mean, when you have several hundred employees, that adds up. And he didn't know it. He's making his product. He's not worried about this stuff. And suddenly, and the payroll provider's not accruing for this money and holding it aside. The state starts sending him nasty grams. Hey, you haven't paid us this. You haven't paid us this. Paid us what? Then the payroll company doesn't even know about it. 3 or 4 months go down the line. This is a $25,000 bill and counting. And you can get your wages garnished. And so this is just because the payroll company who's out of state didn't realize that Oregon has a specific tax that is set aside for employees to enable them in case they have a leave of absence, or they can take aside some money and take some time off and still pay themselves if they get injured or they need some time off, and it's not going to be paid time off. They can have paid leave Oregon. So the employer pays into it, the employee pays into it. And this is a huge problem. And in Oregon, it's a tax-heavy state. Portland, tax-heavy state. So that's what compliance means. You touched a nerve with me. And administrivia and cost can tear down a company when you're a great chef and you have a great restaurant or a great motor works and a great auto repair shop. And if you don't have the administrivia taken care of, you can be taken out as a business because of a little thing, tiny little thing like insurance or like IT or accounting or anything, you know?
But those things need to be put into your budget, right? And you're not thinking about that. People are thinking about payroll and they go, oh, it's $20. No, it's not $20 an hour.
Right.
Right.
Plus 16%.
Yeah.
Ish.
And so our job is to sweat those details so the employer can get out and do what they want to do front facing for their business, which is let me focus on making bread or let me focus on
the
making
focus
wine.
as a business owner should be growing your business, right? First and foremost. The focus.
That's right.
If you're what was this the quote that I heard the other day? If you spend all day on your business and it can't survive without you, you're not running a business, you're running a job.
Right.
Right? And that really hit home to me because I was like, shit, am I running a job? Am I running a business? You know, and there's a lot of truth behind that. As business owners, we really have to get out of our own way, and I don't think that we do that enough. Mm-hmm. I think that we hold on very tightly to our vision, right? I know for me, right, TAC is a piece of me. I mean, that is like, that's my heart, that's my soul, like mess with my baby and like watch me kill you, you know? But I will eat you. But I have to get out of my own way. I have to trust my employees to take really good care of me and to do the work for me so that I can continue to build the business in the right way. Mm-hmm. But how do I do that successfully? And how do I have business partners that can handle these things for me that I know there's no stress if something was to happen, right? That is the hardest part as a business owner. It's so hard for us to get ahead of ourselves. We have this great vision and we got to do it. We're just going to do it. I know how to do it. I'm just going to handle it. I'm just going to fix it.
I'm a hard worker. I can get it done.
I'll do it. I can do it faster.
Well, that's me. That's what I think. And
I'll just do it. It'll take me 2 seconds. I'll just do it. Yeah. Say that all the time. I'll just do it.
I'll just do it.
No, don't do it. Right?
And that's how you develop your talent around you, is give them those. Gabrielle does that in her business.
Hire people smarter than you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You need to get out of the way and let them manage and let them do it. That's right.
Yeah, and I also think that, like, to your point, I feel like in the strat planning world, I feel like it's a really big red flag talking to owner-operators and they're unwilling to let go of certain really compliant areas of their business. Mm-hmm. Like the folks who are unwilling to give up payroll, I'm like, ooh, this is going to be a train wreck. Mm-hmm. People unwilling to hustle and sell. That's a big thing to overcome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's why they tend to not give it up, because it's the path of least resistance, and they want to do those things. But they need to grow their business.
And that feeds into why you have a good board, because good strategic partners will tell you, okay, if you don't like that, let's get that off your plate so that you can continue to do the stuff you like. Right? It's one thing we talk about all the time. If you're doing something in your business that you hate, get rid of that shit as fast as possible, because that's dragging you down. Mm-hmm. Every time you go, oh, I don't want to do that, like, it just, your morale, right, just drops. Like, I have to do this for, like, that's me. You want me to data entry? You want me to code transactions? Oh my gosh, I'm just like, my whole life's falling apart.
And turn it over to somebody who can do it profitably, smarter, better, faster. And we look at it as a profit, and you can look at it as a reduced cost, and then go out and get your focus on sales and things.
And it's hard, but we have to do it, right? We have to.
Well, also, as small business owners, as solo entrepreneurs. Thank you. Having a group around you that is able to take those tasks off your plate is invaluable. But also doing, as Gabrielle said, the strategic plan, but also like the SWOT analysis. I haven't done a SWOT analysis since college.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's what people are saying. Oh, break out the old SWOT analysis,
like,
and I'm like, you guys laugh like it's funny, but it's
opportunity task.
That's
imperative.
the due diligence that Dean was talking about.
Yes.
Like, does it actually math
Mm-hmm.
when you math it?
yeah. And you're like, well, I never even thought about those. You know, what's going on here? And, you know,
Or just getting in front of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Your name is too long; it's not going to sell.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Your website's too clunky. Right? We need to have people that talk to us and have those real discussions. Can always be sunshine and roses when you talk to people in business, right? You're always upping your business, right? So great, so wonderful. I'm just doing so good. I'm making all the money. But it's hard, and we have to have that time where we have people come to us and say, hey, this doesn't look good for your business. Your website looks like crap.
Yeah.
Your message isn't being delivered clearly, right? You don't look good. Your logo's too long. Like, you need people that give you that feedback, because you might just think it's like the best thing ever. Like, oh, I love this. It's so great. And people are like, I don't like that. It's imperative to have other people in your corner so that you can bounce those things off of. And I think that if you live in your head and you say, I have a great idea, I'm going to do it, I don't want to listen to anybody else, you're going to fail, right? Yeah. That's what happened. I mean.
And we advocate for business. That's what I like you just said. That's right. Somebody has to advocate.
I want you to be successful.
That's right.
Yeah.
I say it all the time as a bookkeeper. If my clients are successful, guess who makes more money?
Right.
Me.
Yeah.
Why would I not want them to be successful?
Right.
And why would I not want to give them the tips and tricks? But you have a lot of bookkeepers who don't. A lot of bookkeepers who don't want to share the knowledge, right? Who don't want to do the training, who don't want to give this stuff to you. And they do that because they feel that they're holding something sacred and like only they know about it. And it's not true, right? The fact is that if I can empower you to know those things and have that better knowledge, you're going to be a better business owner. And in turn, you're going to make better decisions for your community. Because that's what it's about for me at the end of the day. I say it all the time.
Yeah.
Building better communities.
And I don't know, for me, it makes like the most sense in the world to give a firm all the transactions, even though I could do it.
Totally, I can
because it's like $20 an hour work. There's no way in heck I should be doing $20 an hour work.
I think you have to say that as a business owner too. That's really hard, right? As a business owner, it's really hard to say I shouldn't be doing work that happily pay somebody else to do it for $20-$25 an hour.
Well, and we know a fella that owns a medical practice, and he with insurance, and he said that he doesn't want a staff member on the phone chasing down an insurance payout that's going to be $25 for the payout or $15 for the payout, when he's basically paying like $40 an hour, $35 an hour for the employee, and they're fully loaded, payroll taxes and everything. It's just not worth it. And so in some cases, that's why they don't want to take insurance. It's just the return is too little for the effort. So, you have to put good effort over bad. You have to make sure you're not putting good effort over bad and you're chasing bad.
But you have to be smart about your business,
that's
right? When we look at something like Urban Crêpière, it has to have employees. It has to have a manager, right? It has to have somebody that's cleaning it. It has to have these things. You cannot, as a business owner, be expected to do that and grow your business.
Well, and he was open like all day long.
Mm-hmm.
That will kill you. Like as a person, right? Yeah. We can't work 80 hours a week all day. Like,
good point.
I mean, Dean says he can. Dean can like work until he 1 foot in the grave, but
no rebuttal from Dean.
Already here.
I like my time.
He's like, check.
And we get why we do it as business owners, and we spend a lot of time doing it. But at the end of the day, is that the right thing for our business? Are we going to be successful? Are we going to be able to get over the hump? And he couldn't get over the hump because he never had the time to manage his business, develop the networks, right? You have to have time to go out and network with people, build a relationship with people, develop the community. You can't do that behind the line.
Right.
Well, I mean, to Eric's point, where you're very close to PSU. There are a lot of students there. I asked, my daughter actually goes to PSU, and I said, hey, do you know this company? It's Crêpière. Nope, no idea. Mm-hmm. There was no advertising. There was no outreach.
Yeah.
There was no coupons for I don't know, free Danish. I don't know.
Get the kids down here. Yeah, you're right.
There was none of that. So I mean, marketing takes effort
And time.
and time
And
follow
sometimes
up.
dollars.
and follow up
Yeah,
and dollars.
Land dollars.
That's right.
$1.
And so, that's one of the things, I struggle with is marketing. And do I have the time, money, and effort?
But your marketing strategies would be a lot different than their marketing strategies.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's why it's so imperative for your business to really know what is going to work for my business.
Right.
How do I market my business? You're not going to get the same as like with still pictures, right? That for IT that you're going to get for food. You're just not.
No. Nobody cares about what a
It's
computer
just
looks like.
Not as exciting looking.
Yeah.
It's not as good looking. It's just not as pretty.
Yeah, I'm not drilling over a motherboard.
I'm sure there's a person out there. It's just not a huge demographic.
Hey, yeah.
You probably didn't go. I mean, you talk about all these points. Going into a business like that and saying, "Hey, I need all these people with me." You probably didn't have that to start with.
100%.
Most people wouldn't have that to start with, because they go, "I can trade for the week if I put everybody on."
I agree with that, but I think that's if you started with your business plan and put it all together, you would know, right? I need a kitchen. I need to cook. I need line people.
I totally agree with everything you're saying, but I just think.
And then and then going out into your neighborhood, like that should, when you open a restaurant, I can say this, you should do this with every business. But restaurants, more importantly, before you fucking open, you need to go out and you need to like let your community know. Like, we're opening, this is the food that we're offering, this is what we're doing. You have to build that community up before you even open those doors. There should be a presence of you before those doors open. And if there's not, you are not going to it's going to take you a lot longer to get over that hump.
Right, because
Right?
you felt no buzz.
So how do you do that?
There's a regional, one of these burger joints, I don't know if it's national or regional, it's a franchise, and they're in my town. And they've got a burger in a basket and everything like that, and a drink, and it's like $18. Well, they put a sandwich board up, no pun intended, on the main strip where everybody drives through, $10 at $10 basket. You go in and the hamburger is, I sound like my grandparents because they used to explain this. You get this tiny little hamburger, but it's actually a good sized burger basket, $10. It's the same thing, and it goes till 4:00. I've been there like 2-3 times a week, and I told my dad about it, and we go down the hill for once a week to get burgers at a large national. We don't freeze, everything is fresh and everything is regional. It's a great place. $35-$40 for the burger, and the experience and the fries are the best ever. But you get the same pretty much kind of experience for like $15 or $18. My point is they've done something to kind of get foot traffic in there, and now I'm going there for dinner now, and I'm paying just a little bit more, but they've done something to get more people in the store, to get foot
But that's
traffic.
marketing 101,
And
right?
I love
you
it.
the carrot long enough to
I
get in.
love it.
You're
It's
buying
smart.
something that 95% of America love.
Mm-hmm.
I think his biggest mistake was. And
It is, it wasn't
shouldn't
the
have even
right-
been a start. If I'm going to open a restaurant tomorrow, a crêperie, and obviously COVID's been terrible for everybody. The violence downtown is, but I reckon it would have been the same result regardless. Personally, I just think
If it was a
product
burrito shop or
was so
something.
far off the mark that
No.
it was like, this is just my personal opinion, and I just think it was just so far off the mark. Wrong country. Crepes. I just think it was like, you could ask 100 students, 200 students, where do they want to hang out after, if that's all you're selling, at least diversify your product.
Right.
Have
Yeah.
burgers, beer, bar, and crepes. This is what we're doing. Do specials, build it up, build it into their kind of, we've got to have that.
I knew a
Right.
fella
The
in
specialty.
a fella in Sheridan,
Not
Oregon.
nothing.
Yeah, not all or none.
I know an older gentleman who's just a serial entrepreneur down in Sheridan, Oregon, and he wanted to buy a kind of an old, broken down retail space that sits right on the river. And it has a bar and everything like that. And what he wanted to do was he was going to do a restaurant where he would sell poor boys, he called them, whatever.
Yeah, po' boys.
Po' boys. And then another room was going to be cannabis. It was going to be walled off. It was going to be a cannabis shop.
Okay.
And And he could figure out the cause and effect there of a walled off, legally protected, with all the windows blacked out and all that, whatever that is, and you couldn't kind of migrate over to the store, kind of through a married co-joined doorway. But he was savvy enough to realize I need something to get people into the door, and having those two things together is really good.
I mean, they kind of go hand in hand.
Back in college,
sandwiches. I mean,
back in college when the bars would close at 1:30 and last call 1 o'clock or 12:45 last call, whatever last call is, I can't even remember because I'm not in bars at that hour anymore. But you'd come outside, you're starving, you're hungry, and there would always be somebody selling donuts out of the back of their car or something, and it's just but now it's food carts. Now food carts are all around bars. So my point is that you've got to look for ways to create revenue, in different capacities, a spot market revenue, a long-term revenue.
But you have to make sure your product is going to sell first.
Yeah.
I think
be creative about it. And there wasn't a lot of creativity there, unfortunately.
a long story
could have been
short,
maximized.
I think food now is different to how, say, when I was, we sometimes had 60, 70 cooks cooking for 60, 70 people. We had 35 in the kitchen, 35 waiters, because it was all Michelin star. And then in London at the time, going back donkeys now, but to Terence Conrad opened up Quagliano's, which was the first real big high-end bistro. So you had maybe 15 cooks in the kitchen cooking for 400.
Oh, so the yield.
So you're like, and that is how the world's gone now. I mean, a lot of English guys who I work with in London and France, they're all in Australia now doing big, big things, vast numbers. Your turnover's everything. You know what I mean? So I just
it's all about turn and burn, expanding.
Yeah. So you've really got to think: what are you selling? How are you selling it? How are you going to produce it? What does it cost? And does the market want to?
So how long ago
Most
was this? Was this when Moses was in short pants?
No, Moses was in longer pants then.
Okay.
No,
I just wanted to say that's a Sopranos reference. I just wanted to see if you could pick up.
It was a long time ago, but it was a real change because it was all Michelin star. 20, 30 guys just being killed in these restaurants to produce perfect food. And Quagliano's come along, so Terence Conrad, great. He had lifestyle stores in England, chains all over, and then great places like Bibenda, which you guys won't know, but were amazing eateries. They spent a fortune on them, high end, but just 200-300 people with like 70 cooks, still working really hard, but big crews, going all day, and that's the change in food now. So like if you're going into something now, numbers count. It's not like you got. I mean, this restaurant I was working at the other week, down in San Fran. 2 people having the menu is $700-800. God forbid you start going for the wine list. You get those days numbered. I mean, we had a really great restaurant closed down up in wine country here, which was like our Michelin star equivalent, and they're slowly closing down. So numbers matter. You're selling not so much now you're still selling great food and great wine, but your turnover is just so important now.
Yeah.
And something like a crêperie, which is not much more than a burrito, you're going to pay for 10 grand rent,
beans and rice,
staff. I mean, you take it into everything we've discussed today and you put the number down on the table and you just divide that by crepes. It would be below your mind.
Yeah.
And the fact that he never even did that, and I feel sorry for him because, I mean, it's a family. He's lost his business.
No, you don't ever want anybody to fail, right? I mean, that's the harsh reality, though, as business owners, is that people put their whole life on the line. I can say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I took out my 401k, a portion of my 401k to start my business. It was a huge, and I left a 6-figure salary. Like, that was a huge, okay, Victoria, let's just, go ahead jump off the mountain, and maybe we can, make a parachute, and, I might be able to survive, right? I was fortunate, right? But I also have a lot of history and knowledge behind how to do it. So I think that my odds were a little bit better.
And it was still hard.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah, do you know how hard I struggled the first 2 years?
I know.
But also you have a business where the margins are really high.
Yes.
You don't have as much overhead because you work virtually and you make all of these very intentional decisions.
Yes. 4-day work weeks, things like that, right? So like my employees can't ever work more than 32 hours in a week. Like, yes, they're still full time. Yes, they still get benefits. Yes, they still get the pay that you would get as a 40-hour work employee. But I'm not, if I do that and structure it, it gives me a better peace of mind.
Yeah.
It helps with my understanding to my employee with my need for workflow. But yes, there was a lot of intentional thought that went into what I did to make sure to keep my margins low. That's not every business that gets that opportunity.
Yep.
But on top of it, you have to retain your clients.
Yep.
Right? So that's a whole different market. But as business owners, it's imperative, I think, that we're just taking that time all the time to reevaluate that strategic plan because it changes, right, as we grow.
Yep.
And we should adapt and be ready to adapt, right? Like, he had the space, he had the time, he could have easily made a pivot. You know what I mean? But when you have this dream in your head and you have this vision, you become very tunnel vision.
I think he was just worn out. Sometimes you're just worn out and you go,
you get beat up
I've got
after
no money
failing.
to pivot. I mean, and then you go around the hotels, you go around once. I mean, that's just not going to do any good.
Yeah.
No.
You may get lucky, but
That's
only
the
the hammering.
that's the other
All
thing
the time.
too is like
All the
those
time.
reserves. There has to be capital in order to make it.
And you need a campaign. You need a different campaign for the students at the college.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
need a different campaign
For the hotels.
You're right.
For the hotels,
Yeah.
you just need you could have the
Strategy.
same crepe, but that needs to go out
Completely
10 different
different.
ways.
100%.
Fulfill the 10 different.
Right.
And so you're putting all of your time, your energy, all of your money, all of your resources right on the line. Of course, we don't want people to fail, but that is the reality, right? That's a huge reality, is that most businesses close their doors within the first 3 years. And after that, only a small percentage of them become large corporations because most business owners at that third year make a big enough salary to live off of, and so they don't continue to grow their business.
Because they know they have to give it up to grow more.
Or they're just content.
Yeah.
Most of them are just content. I can make a living. I make $100,000. I'm happy. Why grow it?
Yeah.
Right? And so this is why a lot of small businesses don't turn into large corporations. But there is this, there's this sweet spot in there that you can, but you have to know your market first. You have to. You're gonna fail. You're already on an uphill battle. Why are you making it more difficult for yourself?
So, Dean, any final words for this segment?
Well, no.
As the resident foodie?
It's all very personal to me, and I'm a bit of a savage about it, so that I'll keep them to myself because I felt they won't be appreciated. But I mean, just that figure divided by his monthly figure, his expected cost of everything.
Minimum $30,000.
Divide that by crepes. How much are they each? $18, $15.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be staggering. That's without the cost of those ingredients. So, the profit margin on
Yes.
the whole thing to me is absolutely nuts.
It was set up to fail.
It was up to fail.
Yes.
And the time you get into it and you're just knackered, everything's gone wrong, you just can't win. And I've been there.
Yeah, and then your pockets don't continue to refill
You just have
themselves.
to-
Like, if you're broke and you put it all in, that's it. You know what I mean? And if you're not getting people in the door and you're not making that revenue, now you're just sinking further in the hole every single month, further in the hole, further in the hole.
And so wrapping things together, wrapping up the conversation that we've been having has been our thoughts post-production, post-conversation with our interview partner, Ilya, with Urban Crêpière. And so these are our thoughts and feedback that we've had as we've spent a lot of time grinding on it and consulting and thinking about how things could have been and how things can be improved. And it's good to see different sides of businesses who are going through their managing through their plateaus. You manage through plateaus in life, and unfortunately we just weren't able to get to this business sooner. And so our feedback is really based on our experiences with them. So what you've seen is us just having a conversation about that business and hoping that we can learn from that, and helping businesses that we speak with in the future, we can allocate those experiences with them. But it's good to see businesses that are in multiple levels of managing through that plateau. And so those are our thoughts. And so what you'll be seeing coming up next is going to be the actual experience in the interview that has been professionally produced by Dean Cambrai. And it's amazing. And so we'll have some thoughts afterwards. So we look forward to you enjoying it. Click the subscribe button. It's really good because you can get a handle and see what's going on in Portland. You can read about it, but you can actually see what the heck's going on the ground floor, because we're on the ground in the trenches with businesses of all walks of life. So hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the other side. I have to go to the bathroom big time.
That's so getting in.
leave that in.
That's great.
Yeah, but no, we're doing that.
So bad. I saw my red light blinking up. Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, I was just looking at the red light blinking.
Oh, you're
I'm
so
not off
funny.
I'm not off looking at
Oh, we're leaving that in.
That's hilarious. And then
And
start rolling.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.